Hello children, how are you all? So children, we are back to our class after the examinations. How were your exams, children? Did you write it well? Okay, so today we are going to start a new chapter. The name of our lesson is The Discontented Fir Tree. The Discontented Fir Tree. Now listen carefully. I'll read the story for you.
Chapter 11 The Discontented Fir Tree. A fir tree grew in a thick forest. It had dark green needles. Its trunk was thick and straight. The wind sang a song when it moved through its branches. One day it looked at the leaves of the other trees. These had different shapes: round, oval, narrow, and broad. The fir tree looked sadly at its needles and said, "My needles are not proper leaves. They are stiff and sharp. They are not like the leaves of other trees. I wish I had leaves of gold." A wood fairy heard its sad words. She touched its boughs with her magic wand. The next morning, the needles of the fir tree had changed into shining gold leaves. It was very happy, but its happiness did not last long. A robber came and started plucking all the gold leaves from the fir tree. The fir tree begged, "Please don't take my gold leaves." The robber replied, "I will sell the leaves and buy food for my family." Then he ran away with all the gold leaves. The fir tree started weeping. It looked ugly without the gold leaves. It sobbed, "I wish I had sparkling glass leaves. They will shine in the sunlight. I will look like a tree of light." The kind wood fairy heard its words. She touched the boughs of the fir tree once more with her magic wand. The next morning, the fir tree was covered with sparkling glass leaves. The animals and the birds of the forest looked at it with wonder. Alas, its happiness did not last this time either. A stormy wind started blowing through the forest. It blew so hard that all the trees started shaking violently. Crash! All the sparkling glass leaves of the fir tree broke into small pieces. It was ugly and leafless again. It wept loudly. "The cruel wind has broken all my leaves. What shall I do? I wish I had broad and smooth green leaves. Then I will be contented and happy." The wood fairy heard its sobs again and granted its wish. The next morning, the fir tree had broad and smooth green leaves. It was full of joy. "What beautiful leaves I have! Robbers won't steal them. The cruel strong wind can't break them. Now I will be happy forever." Suddenly there was a noise of bleating in the forest. 3 billy goats were wandering in the forest looking for something to eat. They saw the broad, soft green leaves of the fir tree. They ran to it and started eating its tasty leaves. "Ouch, ouch, billy goats, please don't eat my leaves. I want everyone to admire them," cried the fir tree. The billy goats replied, "We are very hungry. We will eat them all up." They ate up all the leaves of the fir tree. Then they walked away. The fir tree wept again. It said to the wood fairy, "I don't want any green leaves. I will never be unhappy or discontented. I don't want gold leaves, glass leaves, or broad soft leaves. Please give me back my green needles. I will always be happy and contented with my green needles. The wood fairy gave it back its sharp, stiff needles. The next morning, the little fir tree stood happily in its evergreen dress.
Now, listen carefully, children. The name of our chapter is The Discontented Fir Tree. Look here. The discontented fir tree. Fir tree. What is the name of our lesson? The name of our lesson is The Discontented Fir Tree. The discontented fir tree. What is the meaning of discontented? What is the meaning of discontented? Discontented. What is the meaning of discontented? Discontented means not feeling happy and satisfied. Not feeling happy, not feeling happy and satisfied. Satisfied. What is the meaning of discontented? Discontented means not feeling happy and satisfied. So we are going to learn the story of a fir tree which was not feeling happy and satisfied. Now listen carefully, children. A fir tree grew in a thick forest. It had dark green needles. Its trunk was thick and straight. The wind sang a song when it moved through its branches. So, a fir tree grew in a thick forest. Once upon a time, in a thick forest, there lived a fir tree. There lived a fir tree. It had dark green needles. It had dark green color needles. Its trunk was thick and straight. Its trunk was, the body of that tree was thick and straight. The wind sang a song when it moved through its branches. When the wind blew, what happened? It made a sound from the branches of the fir tree. One day, it looked at the leaves of the other trees. One day, this fir tree looked at the leaves of other trees. These had different shapes. So, the fir tree is thinking that all these trees are having different shapes. Some of them are round in shape. Some of them are oval in shape. Some are narrow and some are broad. So, the fir tree is thinking that all these trees have different shapes. All their leaves are different in shapes. Some leaves are round in shape. Some are round in shape. Some are oval in shape. Then some are narrow. Narrow means it is not at all thick. And some are broad. And some leaves are broad. That means it is wide. So the fir tree is thinking that all these trees have different shapes of leaves. The fir tree looked sadly at its needles and said, so the fir tree looked at its needles and it said, my needles are not proper leaves. These are not like leaves. My needles are not proper leaves. They are stiff and sharp. They are stiff and sharp. They are not like the leaves of other trees. I wish I had leaves of gold. So the fruit tree is thinking that my leaves are not looking good. It is needle. It is not at all looking good. It is stiff. What is the meaning of stiff? Stiff means difficult to bend or move. It is very difficult to bend. It is very thick and stiff. So the fruit tree is thinking that my leaves are not like the leaves of other trees. My leaves are needles and it is very thick and stiff. It cannot be bent. So the fruit tree is thinking that I wish I had leaves of gold. The fruit tree wants golden leaves. The fruit tree is thinking that if it had golden leaves. A wood fairy heard its sad words. She touched its boughs with her magic wand. The next morning, the needles of the fruit tree had changed into shining gold leaves. It was very happy, but its happiness did not last long. So, what happened, children? The fruit tree wished to have golden leaves, and it was saying like this: I wish I had golden leaves. A wood fairy heard its sad words. So, what is a wood fairy? Wood fairy is a fairy that live in woods. It is an imaginary creature. A wood fairy is a fairy that live in woods. So, when the fir tree was thinking about this, a wood fairy heard its sad voice and she came. She touched its boughs with her magic wand. So, what is boughs? Boughs. What is the meaning of boughs? A large branch of a tree. A large branch of a tree. So, what is boughs? Boughs means a large branch of a tree. When the fir tree was thinking about its leaves, suddenly a wood fairy heard its sad voice and came there. Then she touched the boughs. Then she touched the large branch of that fir tree. The next morning, the needles of the fir tree had changed into shining gold leaves. What happened, children? In the next morning, the leaves of that fir tree changed into golden leaves. It was very happy. The fir tree was very happy, but its happiness did not last long. The fir tree was very happy, but something bad happened soon. A robber came and started plucking all the gold leaves from the fruit tree. Suddenly, a robber, a thief came there and he started plucking all the gold leaves of this fruit tree. The fig tree begged, please don't take my gold leaves. The fig tree told that, hey robber, please don't take my leaves. The robber replied, I will sell the leaves and buy food for my family. The robber said that I will pluck these leaves, then I will sell it and I will get some money, then I will buy some food for my family. Then he ran away with all the gold leaves. And what happened, children? He took all the gold leaves and he ran away. The fir tree started weeping. The fir tree started crying. It looked ugly without the gold leaves. So the robber took all the gold leaves and he ran away. Now the fir tree is not at all beautiful. It is very ugly. It sobbed, I wish I had sparkling glass leaves. Now the fig tree is thinking that all my gold leaves are gone now. I wish I had sparkling glass leaves. Now the fig tree is wishing to have some sparkling glass leaves. They will shine in the sunlight. The fig tree is thinking that if I have some glass leaves, it will shine in the sunlight. It will look like a tree of light. So the fig tree is thinking that if I have some glass leaves, it will shine in the sunlight and I will look very beautiful. I will look like a tree of light. The kind wood fairy heard its words. Again, the kind wood fairy heard the fig tree's words. She touched the boughs of the fig tree once more. Again, she touched the large branch of that fig tree, and what happened? In the next morning, again the tree changed and now it is a tree full of glass leaves. Now the fig tree has glass leaves. Very good. Now the fig tree has glass leaves. The animals and birds of the forest looked at it with wonder. Alas, its happiness did not last this time either. So, when the wood fairy changed the fig tree into a glass tree, all the animals and birds were surprised to see the new tree in that forest. They were very surprised to see this glass tree. But what happened, children? Again, its happiness didn't stay. Something bad happened. A stormy wind started blowing through the forest. Suddenly, there was a stormy wind. It blew so hard that all the trees started shaking violently. And what happened? All the trees started shaking violently. Violently means with a great force. Look here, violently. Violently means with a great force. So when the fig tree changed into a glass tree, suddenly there was a stormy wind and it blew so hard. It was very fast and all the trees in that forest started shivering. It started shaking violently. Crash! What happened? Crash! All the sparkling glass leaves of the fig tree broke into small pieces. So, when the stormy wind blew, all the glass leaves of the fig tree fell down and it broke into small pieces. It was ugly and leafless again. Again, all the leaves are lost. Now the fig tree is looking ugly. It is not at all beautiful. It wept loudly. It cried loudly. The cruel wind has broken all my leaves. The fig tree is crying now and it is saying that the cruel wind, the cruel naughty wind took all my leaves. It has broken everything. What shall I do? What can I do? I wish I had broad and smooth green leaves. Then I will be contented and happy. So the fig tree is thinking that I wish I had broad and smooth green leaves. It is thinking that I want broad, wide, green colored leaves. Then I will be happy. I will be happy and satisfied. The wood fairy heard its sobs again and granted its wish. Again the wood fairy heard its sad words, and it granted its wish. Granted its wish means gave it what it wanted. That means the fig tree wished to have some green colored broad leaves. The wood fairy gave the fig tree broad green colored leaves. The next morning, the fig tree had broad and smooth green leaves. So, the fairy gave the fig tree broad, smooth, green colored leaves. It was full of joy. Now, the fig tree is very happy. What beautiful leaves I have! Robbers won't steal them. The cruel strong wind can't break them. Now I will be happy forever. So the fig tree is thinking that now I have green colored broad leaves. My leaves are very beautiful. Now the robbers will not take my leaves. The storm cannot destroy my leaves. The fig tree is very happy now. Suddenly, there was a noise of bleating in the forest. Three billy goats were wandering in the forest looking for something to eat. They saw the broad, soft green leaves of the fig tree. They ran to it and started eating its tasty leaves. And what happened, children? Now the fig tree is thinking that I have broad leaves, I have green leaves, my leaves are soft and it is very beautiful to see. Nobody will take my leaves. Suddenly, the fig tree heard a sound, bleating sound. What is bleating sound? Bleating. Bleating. Bleating sound means a sound that sheep and goats make. So what is bleating sound? Bleating sound is a sound that sheep and goats make. So suddenly the fig tree heard a bleating sound. It was a sound of sheep and goats. Three billy goats were wandering in the forest looking for something to eat. So the fig tree saw three goats wandering in the forest for food. They saw the broad, soft green leaves of the fig tree. Suddenly, they saw the fig tree and its leaves. They came there and started eating the broad, tasty leaves. Ouch, ouch! Please don't eat my leaves, billy goats. So, the fig tree told the billy goats, ouch, ouch, please don't eat my broad leaves. I want everyone to admire them, cried the fig tree. So the billy goats are eating the fig tree's broad leaves, and the fig tree is crying, please don't eat my broad leaves. I want everyone to look at my leaves. The billy goats replied, we are very hungry. We will eat them all up. They ate up all the leaves of the fig tree. Then they walked away. What happened, children? The billy goats ate all the green broad leaves of the fig tree and they left. They went away. The fig tree wept again. Again the fig tree cried. It said to the wood fairy, I don't want any green leaves. I will never be unhappy or discontented. I don't want gold leaves, glass leaves, or broad soft leaves. Please give me back my green needles. I will always be happy and contented with my green needles. So, the fig tree is very unhappy now. The fig tree is crying. So the fig tree said the Wood fairy that I will not be discontented anymore. Please give me back my old green needles. I don't want gold leaves, I don't want glass leaves, or I don't want any green broad leaves. Please give me back my old needles. And the fig tree told to the wood fairy that I won't be discontented, I will be satisfied with what I have. The wood fairy gave it back its sharp, stiff needles. The next morning, the fir tree stood happily in its green dress. So, what happened, children? The wood fairy gave back the old green needles to the fir tree, and it was very happy in the next day. So, what is the moral of the story, children? What is the moral of the story? We should not be discontented. We should be satisfied with what we have. We should not be greedy. We should be satisfied with what we have. We should not be discontented or greedy. Did you understand, children? So, we learned the chapter The Discontented Fir Tree. Now, I'll give you a homework. So, children, we learned this chapter and we learned some new words and their meanings. Now, you have to write these new words and their meanings in your notebook. Also, you have to read this text and send me the video of your reading exercise. And I will send you the answers of comprehension question answers. You have to write it in your notebook. Did you understand, children? Once you do all these homeworks, you have to take a photograph and upload it in school WhatsApp group. See you in next class. Thank you, children.
Nidhyani